and acknowledge that the Board of Education acknowledges that we are on the traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. We would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I'm wondering if there's a trustee that would like to move adoption of the February 27, 2024 board meeting agenda as presented. Thank you, Vice Chair Leslie. Seconder, Trustee Aldinger. Discussion? Being none. All those in favor, please show. And any opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Next, we move on to board meeting minutes. Trustee Howe.
The Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, adopt the January 30th, 2023 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
And seconded by Trustee Maysack. Thank you. Discussion? None. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we have no unfinished business. And move for the record of in-camera meeting minutes. January the 30th, 2024, regular in-camera meeting. February the 13th, 2024, closed committee of the whole. And February 20th, 2024, special closed committee of the whole meeting. I'm actually quite curious what the sound of this heater is going to be doing to the.
Yeah, let's be.
Hopefully it's not messing up our live and recorded feed of anything at this end of the table. It would be interesting. All right, moving on to the board chair report. In the agenda package is board chairperson's report. And I'd like to start off by saying it's a snowy February evening, or maybe it's raining out there, or I'm not sure what it's doing. It was certainly snowing when we arrived. Just wanted to share that this week we launched the initial steps in developing our new strategic plan. And alongside some in-depth focus groups, we will be offering a chance for feedback through an online survey. There are options for students to complete, parents and guardians, staff, and the community. And the survey aims to gather perspectives on various aspects of education in the district, including core competencies, values, vision, mission, and innovative strategies for powerful learning. Everyone's participation and feedback is critical, and we appreciate those that have already completed the survey. And if you haven't, there are links and QR codes, I'm saying many spots on our website, in our agenda package, and wherever our manager of communications could find a spot to slot them, he has put them there for everybody. So we just really thank everybody for their time and commitment, for providing the feedback that we're going to need for the next steps. I then would like to share a little bit about a session that we had recently with our partner groups and rights holders to discuss our recent Feeding Futures district scan. And it was something that we hadn't done before in that way, and the thoughtful, curious, and well-informed dialogue was a pleasure to be part of, to come together with community. And Feeding Futures is focused on providing stigma-free, healthy food to students in need and acknowledging local food sources in doing so, as well as respecting the uniqueness of each school community. And we're looking forward to the next steps of the outcomes to guide our future steps in the critical and meaningful endeavor that we've been given opportunity to do with the funding as it's been presented to us. And then lastly, just a shout out again about our District Professional Development Day that was held on February the 16th. The theme was valuing place diversity, equity, and inclusion. And once again, our professional development committee and everyone involved did an amazing job, and it was great learning for everyone. So thank you. Next, going on to the agenda, we have no presentations and delegations. And our next open committee of the whole meeting won't be until April due to spring break. The topic is to be determined, and it will be held on April the 9th. Now moving on to number 9 in our agenda package, strategic directions, and I move this over to the superintendent.
Thank you very much, Chair. It does feel funny to talk about the routines of learning as we approach spring break on a night that it is snowing. But this is a special time in the school system where the routines have really been established, lots of learning's taking place, and we're actually seeing those transformations of learning from September till now. I also want to acknowledge not just the amazing work that's happening during the day and in those in the regular sphere of schooling, but so many student accomplishments worth mentioning tonight. So we have the athletes qualifying provincials, boys and girls teams, wrestlers winning at provincials, improv student success, Skills Canada participants, robotics successes, and the many actors involved in next week's district musical. And I just acknowledge and appreciate that each of these student successes occurs because of dedicated staff and volunteers who give generously of their time and expertise to ensure that there are opportunities for our gifted students to shine. Our district is so fortunate to have so many individuals who sacrifice their own time in order to provide so many amazing opportunities for our gifted kids. Tomorrow is Pink Shirt Day. Pink Shirt Day was started by grade 12 Nova Scotia students David Shepard and Travis Price, who wanted to show their solidarity for a victim of bullying who was targeted in part for wearing a pink shirt. It was established in Canada in 2007. That means there's been close to 18 Pink Shirt Days. And I wonder how different things are now than from the very first Pink Shirt Day. And tonight, as I ponder that question and think on that reality, the fact that we have so much work to do, I'm thinking of a young Oklahoma non-binary teen, Next Benedict, who tragically passed away earlier this year after being reportedly beaten by classmates on school grounds. I know that this tragic event has deeply impacted members of our learning community who identify as part of the 2SL LGBTQIA+. And I want to ensure that members in that community know this, that you are not alone. I also acknowledge that we have more work to do to ensure our hallways and schools recognize and celebrate the uniqueness, the gifts, the strengths, and the identity of each of our students and staff. And tonight, I want to acknowledge that Pink Shirt Day needs to be more than us just thinking about bullying, and rather an opportunity to reflect on the ways that we can make a positive difference. Let us all think of Pink Shirt Day as a call to action. March 1st is Staff Appreciation, and I would like to acknowledge my deep gratitude for the amazing people that make up the School District 71 team. Each day, amazing things happen in our schools and in our classrooms and at each work site. And I'm thankful and humbled to be part of this great team. So thank you. Lastly, tonight, I wanted to take just a small moment to acknowledge one staff member who was at their last, or what we anticipate to be their last board meeting. Next week, we will be welcoming Carrie McVeigh to the role of Secretary Treasurer in the Comox Valley. And so I wanted to extend my appreciation to you, Russell, who has been so supportive and has helped our district through a time of change and transition. Your 34 years of expertise in this position have been an incredible asset. And I've been so thankful to have had the opportunity to work closely with you this school year. And on behalf of myself and the Board of Education, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just gonna make him slide right in now.
Yeah.
Just take a moment.
Yeah, slide into the budget.
You wanted to share, you wasn't. Yeah. Whenever you are ready,
I'm ready.
I can take a picture.
All right. So page 7 of your package is a briefing note that starts off the budget conversation. As trustees are aware, you've had a couple of working sessions to dive deeply into the budget document itself and to look at the changes in more detail than I will be able to cover off at tonight's meeting. But we will review the significant changes for the process and for the public to see. Start off with some appreciation to Candace, Jennifer, and Kathy, two of them are sitting there, are the ones that do the vast majority of the work, and then I get the light to be able to speak to the budget when we're in public. So thank you guys for the work you've done that pulled this together. So up on the slides, I'll just go through. What the slides do is summarize the important information that's included in your package. Attached to the briefing note is the Ministry of Education and Childcare's budget bylaw document. You'll see on page 10 is the actual bylaw. That's the amended annual budget bylaw. That's what we are requesting that you consider and approve tonight. And then behind that are the supporting documents that I'll review on the slide. So to start off, what we are experiencing as a school district is growth. And what you have in front of you there, the box that's highlighted is where we ended up this year on our September 30th count. And you can see as we project out over the next 3 years that we're going to see some significant growth in the NIDES program, the distance learning, as well as our K-12 regular enrollment. These numbers are consistent with what was presented to the board when the operations department was presenting their capital plan information to you. So as you look for this amended budget and we start looking at 24-25 and then the impact on the next 3 years, these are the enrollment numbers that we've submitted to the ministry that will inform the revenue calculations for that process. So good, constant, steady growth, as you can see on the slides. Just from a high level, talking about where do our revenues come from. So almost 94% of our revenues come from grants from the Ministry of Education and Childcare, about 2.5% from international education. The Ministry of Education Indigenous Targeted Grant represents about 2.4%. And then we have some other revenues that come in as well. So you can see an awful lot of our funding comes in from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. If you put the 93.9% with the 2.4, you're up into 95% of our funding is coming from the provincial grants. Oops. Sorry. There we go. So this table is a summary of the operating grants. The first column or in the middle is the amended budget. That's what's in the document in front of you. The annual budget is the budget that the board approved last May, which set us off on the current year. So you can see our amended revenues from the province is 117.5 compared to 115.5 in the spring. So our revenues are up about $2 million. That is attached to the approximately 200 additional students that we received in our schools in September over and above what we had originally estimated. International is up slightly. Investment income is being adjusted to reflect the changes in the interest rate and our deposits as well. So we're projecting a slight increase of $250,000. So overall, our total revenues are going from 119.9 to $122.3 million, or up by $2.4 million. Where does our money go? So about 86% of our operating budget is spent on salary and benefits. We're definitely in the people business. We've got a significant number of students that are being serviced by those staff members, so $103.1 million of the budget. 17.1 million or 14.2% of our budget is on supplies and services and equipment replacement. And we have some slides that'll come up that'll break that out in a little bit more detail for you. So here's the salary impact. So you can see that the teacher is up by $1.2 million. That is a combination of two, picking up some teachers, reconciling in September, as well as an adjustment to the average cost of our teachers. Principals and vice principals, education assistants, you can see, support staff, other professionals, and substitutes, which is both teachers and education assistants and other staff. So in total, our salaries are up from 80.9 to $82.9 million, or approximately $2 million. Our benefit costs are largely follow our salaries. So as our salaries increase, so do our benefit costs. So you see an increase of about $335,000. So overall, the salary and benefits are increasing by $2.26 million compared to the annual budget. My batteries die. The supplies and services budgets relate to services that we contract: student transportation, rentals, dues, fees, insurance, utilities. You can see it there. The significant part of the increase relates to the services up above. So what happens is you do your annual budget in the spring. You adopted a budget with supplies and services of 16.5. When we close the financial statements at June 30th, there are items that we carry forward from the prior year to the current year. And what happens is when we do the amended budget, we bring the carry forwards into the budget. And that is substantially the increase of $600,000 is the carrying forward of what's called a restricted operating reserve into the subsequent year. And that increases our expenditures. It also increases our revenue, so it nets out to zero. How do we spend each of those dollars? So you can see that 82 cents of every dollar is being spent on the instruction of students. Regular instruction is about 59 cents of that dollar. Indigenous education, 3 cents. Inclusive education, 17 cents. And counseling, 3 cents. So about 82% of our budget is what we call function 1 or instruction. Administration, district administration is 4 cents or 4%, transportation 2 cents, and then our facilities, operations, and maintenance represents about 12% of our total spend. So one student in this budget equals $11,271 on average is being spent. Craig, can you hit the button for me? Yeah. So as far as the budget goes, you can see the middle column, the annual was the budget that you approved in the spring. $119.9 million in expenditures, $117.4 million in expenses. There was budgeted capital assets being purchased out of operating funds of $271,000. There was a transfer for local capital of $2.6 million. And the budget was being balanced by using $334,000 of your unrestricted operating reserve. So all said, that adds up to zero. So that's a balanced budget that was submitted to the ministry. The amended budget is larger. These numbers we looked at already. So $122.3 million in revenue, $120.2 in expenses. The capital assets being purchased through the operating fund is increased by $104,000 to $375,000. The transfer to local capital is significantly higher. This includes the sum of money that was restricted at June 30th for the board office replacement project that is being brought into revenue and transferred to local capital. So this is the funds that you restricted last June being brought into the current budget and then transferred into that expenditure. And budget for prior years, that $4.2 million is made up of two items. One, the $334,000 has increased to $387,000. And the remaining amount, which is $3.8 million, is the other items that were restricted at June 30th that are being brought into the operating budget. So your amended budget balance as well as your amended budget, so that is a requirement from the ministry, is that the budget be balanced when you submit it. Thanks, Craig. So special purpose funds, next one. So we have a large list of special purpose funds that we manage in the school district. These might be what you call trust funds, where the grants come in for a specific purpose and they have to be spent on that purpose. Some of the larger ones that we have would be school generated funds, the classroom enhancement funds. Feeding Futures is an issue that we were talking about earlier. That is accounted as a special purpose fund or a trust fund. So each one of these funds has a revenue source and a specific purpose on how the funds are to be spent. And if you get into the details of the ministry document, each one of these funds is summarized on revenue and expenditures, in some case capitalization. Right. So these special purpose funds are increasing from 18.1 million to 19.7, so about $1.6 million. The vast majority of the increase is the revenues that we're bringing in associated with the school generated funds to try to more accurately reflect the revenues that they will be bringing in through their books. Same thing, the funds for the special purpose needs to balance as well, which it does, both the amended and the preliminary. The third fund that we manage, so there's the operating fund, the special purpose fund, and then the capital fund. That's what makes up our budget, a capital fund. So you can see the internally restricted capital assets of $3,070,000 coming in. This is the transfer to support the board office. And then we have an annual regular contribution of $2.8 million, which supports, what are the biggest one? IT, modular classrooms as well. And then there's a splattering of smaller ones as well. So in total, this is the $5.9 million that we looked at earlier. So this is coming from the budget document. So the annual budget that you approved in spring was $147 million. The amended budget that we're bringing forward now, that is the amount in your budget bylaw, is $158,872,689. So if you have a look at page 10 of your package where the amended budget bylaw exists, you can see that the amended annual budget bylaw of the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley for the fiscal year 2022-23 pursuant to the School Act, point 3, has the amount of the amended budget bylaw, which is the amount up on the screen. So there are 5 amounts that are making up this budget bylaw. First is the operating expenditures. Second is the capital items bought through the operating funds. Then the special purpose funds. Then the capital fund transactions, which is really amortization of our capital assets. And then finally, there's the capital assets purchased through the local capital fund. So those 5 items add up to the $158.8 million that's contained in your budget document. So, Madam Chair, that is the presentation, I believe. And so you have before you a recommendation for the board to consider the motions that are included in the briefing note on page 7, I think is where we started. Yep. And so there are 4 motions for you. Certainly happy to answer any questions that trustees might have.
No, but I will just thank you for always kind of mapping out these changes in a really clear way so they're easy to understand. If I've got it, you've done something right. So thank you very much.
All right, so you will see on page 7, as well as in the agenda package, there are 4 motions. I'm looking for a trustee to read motion 1.
That the amended annual budget and bylaw 2023-2024 be given first reading.
Thank you. And seconded by trustee Howe. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Motion 2, trustee Eldinger.
That the amended annual budget and bylaw 2023-24 be given second reading.
Thank you. Seconder, Vice Chair Leslie. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And now the third motion, in order for us to proceed with the third and final reading, this motion needs to be unanimous in order for us to move forward to motion number 4 tonight. Just a heads up. And could I have a trustee moving this motion? Trustee McConnell-Keen?
That in accordance with section 68(4) of the School Act, all 3 readings of the amended annual budget and bylaw 2023-24 be given at tonight's meeting.
Is there a seconder? Oh, that's quick hands. Trustee Masak. Although I thought I turned it, I beat. All those in favor? It's down, that's unanimous, that's carried. And finally, the last motion, Vice Chair Leslie.
That amended annual budget and bylaw 2023-24 be given third and final reading.
Seconder? Trustee Aldinger? Discussion? Discussion, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And Secretary Treasurer, it's over to you as well.
Yes, thank you very much through the chair. Page 5 of your package, you have a briefing note that was written by Ian Hesselgreen, Director of Operations, providing an update on the capital projects. So a few projects to highlight for you that came in the report. So the first one is the Arden Elementary School New Childcare Center that it reports on. There's a nice little photo of where we're at. We were pleased to achieve what's called lockup, where the doors and windows are on it, because that's a chance for us to apply for the second payment. So we've achieved lockup. This is a 75 space childcare center. And we are looking for completion in April of 24. So it's progressing well. In accordance with your policy, the request for proposal for operators was issued, and the Boys and Girls Club of Central Vancouver Island was the successful proponent. So when it opens in May, we're anticipating, they will be the not-for-profit that is running the center. Over on page 26, same report on Glacier View Secondary School, new childcare center. So the exact same units are being built in these 2 locations, same size, same dates and same operator. So both of these projects are proceeding well and appear to be on budget as well. The third project that he is reporting on is the new school board office. And you can see a photo there, and trustees had an opportunity for a tour yesterday. So I hope that went well for you. Looking at completion for June 30th of 2024 with a staff move into the new building in mid-July. There are conversations and discussions going on right now with our Indigenous education staff and inclusive education staff that will be relocating to this building to define what their needs are and to make sure that this facility is satisfying their requirements when they arrive as well. As with any move, we've got a lot of files to go through and a lot of information that might need to be tossed. So that work is commencing, and we've got a big storage area down below in the crawl space as well. So figuring out what we're going to do with all those files. On page 27 is a update on a couple of specific projects that we've been working on. The Highland Cooler Tower is functioning, and we should have it up and running for the warm weather. Main electrical service as well at Highland. Aspen Park Modular Classroom. So that is being ordered and delivered, and we're looking for building permit / spring break installation. Airport Elementary, there's 2 projects that are going on right now. One is to upgrade the DDC, the digital data controls for the HVAC system, which should make us a little bit more efficient, as well as an LED lighting upgrade. So these would be the other projects that we're reporting on. So happy to take any questions that trustees may have, but there's a recommendation there to receive the information as presented.
The tour yesterday was lovely.
Was it? Good.
Yeah.
Was it sunny?
Sunny, cold.
Yeah.
So seeing no questions or comments, looking for a trustee to move seat of the briefing note. It's on the
page 27.
Yeah.
Yep, sure, I'll do it.
Go ahead, thank you.
It is recommended that this briefing note be received by the Board of Education as information.
Seconder? Trustee Aldinger, thank you. And one last chance for discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. And now, four.
So on page 28 of your package is a policy revision and administrative procedure revision pertaining to the public interest disclosure, or the whistleblower protection policy that you have, number 27. So we originally brought this to you in December or November, actually, to have it in place for the December 1st, which was the due date. Following your ratification of the policy, the government clarified that trustees are not considered staff under the legislation. And so the the policy that you had approved needed to be amended. So what you have here is the recommended changes from the Public Sector Employers Association to adjust the policy so that it's clear that trustees are not considered staff, and therefore the policy does not apply to you. On page 32 is the administrative procedure that is being adjusted to reflect this as well. So the intent, the reporting, the record keeping, all of that remains the same. Really what these changes are doing is just taking the policy you approved in November and removing trustees as an employee and clarifying it from that perspective. There is on your agenda a motion to two-parter for your consideration. So the first part is to approve the amendments to the policy as presented, and then the second part is to receive the change to the administrative procedure as presented. Happy to answer any questions trustees may have.
I can move the motion first, and then if someone has any questions. That the Board of Education of School District 71, Comox Valley, approve the amendments to Board Policy 27, Public Interest Disclosure, Whistleblower Protection as presented. And that the Board of Education receive as information changes to the Administrative Procedure 403, Public Interest Disclosure, Whistleblower Protection as presented.
Great. For a seconder, Trustee McConnell-Keen, thank you. Discussion? None? Those in favor?
Thank you.
It's carried, thank you. Moving on to the top of page 3 of our agenda. We had no open committee of the whole meeting to report on under board standing committee reports. So moving on to board business. And the first item is the Indigenous Education Committee report by Vice Chair Leslie.
Thank you. Up and coming on March 2nd, 2024, the Indigenous Education Council and the Comox Valley School Board are gathering for a generative discussion on co-governance facilitated by Ted Cadwallader. Much discussion was had about that event, and we're all really excited to and looking forward to that day. There was much discussion. Everybody was really interacting in a really good way. A lot of talk on student voice. Really wonderful to hear some information coming forward in that way. And a large discussion on restorative justice and restorative circles and practices that were discussed that were not only really supportive for Indigenous, but for all students. And how the IC would like to have their meetings in schools so they could schools and connect with the school communities. And just some discussions on IC elections and annual Indigenous Education Recognition Ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, we have our agenda item regarding BCSTA advocacy, and I'm going to turn this over to Trustee Aldinger.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is a motion that I propose that our board bring to the next AGM of the BCSTA, which takes place at the end of April. In order to submit it, it needs to be approved by the board. The motion itself is that the BCSTA advocate for the province of British Columbia to increase capital funding for retrofitting of existing buildings, including electrifying schools and switching to heat pumps in order to enable school districts to meet their 2030 GHG emission targets as required by BC's Climate Change Accountability Act. One aspect that I point out is that it's advocating for the province to increase capital funding, not simply the Ministry of Education. The idea being that it's not trying to compete with other pools of funding. And the motion itself is that the Board of Education of School District 71, Comox Valley, approve and submit the proposed motion as presented in this attachment that I've just read out at the BCSTA annual general meeting from April 18th to 21st, 2024.
Thank you for moving that motion. Is there a seconder? Trustee Maysack, discussion? I would just like to share that this was one of the board's top 3 issues that we brought forward to the Select Standing Committee in 2023. So looking forward to this very important issue moving forward provincially with our counterparts across the province.
I would like to say thank you to Trustee Aldinger for all of her work and the great resources and everything I'll put together for this stuff. Trustee Howe?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that I support us doing this, and I look forward to being at IGM and there.
Great, seeing no further hands raised, all those in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Next, we move on to board correspondence, of which there is none. And now we move to public question period to the board, looking to see if there was anything that was communicated electronically.
Just looking.
And while we're looking for that, I just want to thank you for all of the work that you've done with us and for us over the past few months. The work that you did was invaluable to move us to where we are today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think it's pretty amazing that we have a budget. We have a budget of over $158 million in our community to do the work that we do for all of the students and in this community and around the province as we support them through our NIDES program.
I believe there are 2, sorry, here, let me just.
Anything else to add? While we're waiting for the email to be.
I'm having trouble finding, I can't get this moved over to see if it's. No, that's not it. Yeah, that's weird. I'm not seeing any.
Thank you. All right, well, we apologize if there was something in the queue that we missed. And we would, if we receive it later, we will support it accordingly. So the last item on our agenda tonight is adjournment. And looking for a trustee to move adjournment. Trustee McConnell-Kane, are you moving that the Board of Education of School District 71 Comox Valley adjourn this meeting?
I sure am, Chair Waite.
Okay, and I see that was seconded by Trustee Aldinger. All those in favor? It's carried. Our meeting is adjourned at 7:42.